Hello, this is Dave. And if you want to save money on your car and home insurance, get a hold of me. I'm licensed in your state. This is a picture of Ruth Paine's house. I did a video of this area when I was in Dallas recently. This is a floor plan of the home. The bottom right bedroom is where Oswald has spent his last night of freedom. Here's a picture of the garage, Ruth Paine's garage. This is a garage that Oswald kept his rifle in. Here's a famous backyard photo of Oswald holding the rifle, a 6.5 Mannlicher Kirkconnell. This is a blanket that he rolled his rifle up in when he hid it inside the garage. Before I get into the video, I want to talk about Ruth Paine some. She was of the Quaker religion. That religion encouraged good works. They encouraged cultural exchange, so she decided to learn the Russian language. She took 2 summers of intensive courses to learn Russian. And when Marina stayed with her, she was very helpful in teaching Ruth how to speak Russian. They would talk only in Russian to each other. Ruth met Marina and Lee February of 1963. Ruth and her husband Michael were invited to a party where she met Marina and Lee. Oswald wanted to send Marina home because he just couldn't find a job. And then Oswald ended up going to New Orleans to look for a job, and he did find work there. During this time, Marina stayed 2 weeks with Ruth while Oswald searched for work. At the end of September of '63, now this is just 2 months and a few weeks prior to the JFK assassination, Marina lived with Ruth from September '63 until the day after the assassination, and Marina was also pregnant with Rachel, who was born in October '63, 1 month before the assassinations, or before the assassination. Oswalds were having financial hardship, and Ruth, during a recent conversation, said that Lee Harvey Oswald was kind of hard to get to know. He didn't have a driver's license, and he only had a high school diploma. It was hard for him to find a job. He couldn't drive around back and forth to and from a job. But he was very worried about supporting his family with a new baby coming on. Marina loved America. She wanted to raise her family in America. Marina also loved her neighbors right there in Irving on 5th Street. And the friends and neighbors were very helpful to Marina by giving her baby clothes, and eventually Marina and Lee had plans to get an apartment. Okay, at 2515 West 5th Street, this is the house that Lee Harvey Oswald would stay in with Marina, come home on the weekends. I'm going to go up to the door and read the plaque here. Paine House, National Historic Places. It's a museum now. Oswald would play with kids by this tree right here. And then down on the corner of Westbrook, that's where Buell Frazier lived with his sister, Lenny Ray Randall. And Oswald would bum a ride from him. So he'd walk down this sidewalk to that house. So let's go take a look. I'm at the corner of Westbrook and 5th. The address is 2439 5th Street. And back in the day, there was a larger window here that was right over the sink, kitchen sink. Lenny Mae Randall saw Oswald walk down this sidewalk, come across the street. Back in the day, this was a car park, and she saw him carrying a package in his left hand, which he said was curtain rod, that turned out to be a rifle.
I was preparing lunches. I looked out the window and saw a man, whom I learned later was Mr. Oswald, crossing the street with a package approximately 2.5 feet long. He proceeded across my carport, and I opened the door to see where he was going and saw him put the package into my brother's car.
We're going to look at some footage now of Ruth testifying. She's going to talk about how she called about the job to get Oswald a job at the Texas School Book Depository. She called Mr. Truly, who is the manager of the depository. And then Oswald would normally come home on Fridays. He would ride home with the neighbor of the home we just looked at, Wesley Frazier. But he bummed a ride on Thursday to come home. Now remember, President Kennedy is coming through Dealey Plaza on Friday, but Oswald had to get home on Thursday. Why? To get his gun. Remember, his gun was in Ruth Paine's garage. In the package that he carried that Friday morning, he said contained curtain rods. So we'll hear some testimony about that. And what was in the package was his gun. And then finally, she'll talk a little bit about him leaving his ring when he left to go to work that Friday morning. So stay tuned.
Call your next witness.
The government calls Mrs. Ruth Paine.
If you would, please, if you'd come forward, come through those doors, come up here and take the witness stand, if you would, please. You previously affirmed that your testimony would be true, have you not?
Yes, I
Just have a seat, please.
Thank you.
And tell us your name.
I'm Ruth Paine.
Mrs. Paine, your occupation, ma'am?
I'm a school psychologist. I work with school children.
You're aware, Mrs. Paine, that I'm going to be asking you questions today about your relationship with Lee Oswald and his wife, Marina.
Yes.
Though the events about which you will be testifying happened many years ago, are they still relatively fresh in your mind?
They're very fresh in my mind.
Mrs. Paine, I believe you had something to do with Mr. Oswald beginning to work at the Texas School Book Depository building. Would you tell the jury about that, please?
Surely. Marina and I were having coffee with the next-door neighbor about a week after Lee had come back to the area, and he had trouble all that week trying to get work. And another neighbor who was there said that brother was working at the Texas School Book Depository, and he had mentioned that they may have more openings there. So I called the School Book Depository and talked with the personnel director there, and he didn't say whether there was an opening, but he said that the young man I mentioned to him should apply in person, and told Lee that when he called at the house. And I guess he did apply the next day and got the job. He was quite elated about that.
Okay, now between mid-October 1963 and November the 22nd, 1963, the day of the assassination, would Mr. Oswald visit his wife, Marina, at your home?
Yes, he'd come out on weekends regularly.
Did he ever deviate from that pattern?
Well, just the weekend prior to the assassination, he did not come out.
Okay, but whenever he did come out to visit Marina, it was always invariably, without exception, Friday night, and then he'd go back Monday morning. Is that correct?
After he was working, yes. Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Paine, on Thursday, November the 21st, 1963, did anything unusual happen with respect to Mr. Oswald?
Well, yes, he came out that night, and it was the first night he'd come out on a weeknight, and it was the first time he'd ever come without asking permission.
And you were surprised?
I was very surprised, yes.
Was Marina a little embarrassed and surprised that?
She was, yes. She said to me, she apologized for his not asking whether he could come, and she expressed her surprise.
To the best of your recollection, when did you first see him that Thursday evening?
I saw him, it was about 5:30 in the evening. I had just gotten back from grocery shopping, and he was already there. They were on the front lawn talking when I arrived.
Okay. Do you recall saying anything to him as you entered the home?
Yes.
What did you say to him?
I said, our president is coming, and I was very excited about it. He didn't really reply. He sort of brushed on by and said, oh, yeah, this was in Russian.
He said, da, or what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Would you please relate to the jury what took place thereafter that evening?
Well, we had dinner as usual, and then I washed up the dishes, and my usual routine was to put my children to bed, reading them stories and so on, and took most of the evening doing that.
Around 9 p.m., do you recall what you did?
Yes, at 9, when my children were tucked in for the evening, I went into the garage to paint some blocks that I had made for my children.
When you entered your garage around 9 p.m., did you notice anything unusual?
Yes, the overhead light was on when I went in.
And you hadn't been in the garage earlier that evening?
No, I had not.
Were you under the impression that either Marina or Mr. Oswald had left the light on?
Doubt seriously it could have been Marina. She was very good at turning out the lights if she ever went in there, and then I could hear her moving about. I knew where she was during the evening. So as I walked into the garage and found the light on, it was my clear impression that Oswald had been there and left it on carelessly.
But you did not physically see him enter the garage?
No, I did not.
There's been testimony at this trial from Mr. Frazier that Mr. Oswald told him that the reason he came to your home that Thursday night was to get some curtain rods from you. For his room on Beckley Street. While he was at your home, did he ask you for any curtain rods?
No, he didn't.
Did he ever at any time ask you for curtain rods?
No.
Was there any discussion between you and him or you and Marina about curtain rods?
No.
Now, you in fact did have some curtain rods
Yes.
in the garage, is that correct?
In the garage, yes.
After the assassination, they were still there?
Yes, that's right.
What is the next thing that happened pertaining to the assassination?
Well, the next thing, they announced on the television that the president had died, and very shortly after that, there were 6 officers that came to my front door from the Sheriff's Department and Dallas Police Department. They asked to come in.
They want to search the home?
Yes, they did.
Did they eventually search the garage?
Yes, they went pretty immediately to the garage.
While in the garage, did the officers ask you if Oswald had any guns or weapons?
One of the officers asked if he had any guns, and I said no. And then I translated the question to Marina, who said yes, that he had a gun, and she indicated a blanket roll on the floor in the garage, pointed to it.
When Marina pointed to the blanket in your presence, did the officers check to see if the rifle was still in the blanket?
Yes, he picked it up and it bent over his arm, limp, like a rag. It was clearly empty.
Did Marina move out of your home after the assassination, ma'am?
Yes, she did.
Mrs. Paine, did Oswald leave his wedding ring behind for Marina on the morning of the assassination?
Well, a few days after the assassination, two men from the FBI came out saying that Marina wanted his wedding ring, and I didn't know just where to look, but we looked in the bedroom and found it in a teacup there on the dresser.
Did the thought occur to you that his leaving the wedding ring behind with Marina on this occasion may have been in the nature of a farewell?
Well, yes, it occurred to me that he may have felt she wouldn't see him again.
Thanks for watching my video. I've been talking with Ruth Paine, so perhaps there may be some other videos forthcoming. Check my YouTube channel if you're into JFK stuff and history. There's a bunch on here that I've recently done. Please subscribe. Thumbs up are nice. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you at the top.